Have you ever walked into like a hotel lobby or a super high-end restaurant and you looked around and you're like, this design is so sophisticated and elevated, yet it feels like warm and cozy, and you're like wondering, why is my place look nothing like this? Well, today I have the answer for you. In today's video, I'm going to be covering about 11 tips and tricks that you can use today in your place that are not invasive. You don't have to like do a full renovation or anything like that. These are things that you can apply, and also I'm going to be leaving links if you want to purchase these items, and I promise you these design tips are just going to take your space from 0 to 100 like in a matter of minutes. So if you're interested in knowing more, then please keep on watching. First tip would be art, and I know this kind of sounds basic, but I'm gonna build on top of it. Just give me a minute. So when I say art, a lot of people like have art at their place, but a lot of them are kind of like lame if I want to just like describe it, because the scale of the art itself is not necessarily like a wow factor, you know. A lot of the art is kind of like shy and it's kind of swallowed by the wall, but I'm talking about art that is like confident, you know, art that has a presence. And I'm talking about this art kind of like it's a person, but you know, like an art that has charisma, if that makes sense. And I'm showing some pictures here because so let's take a look at this first one. This piece of art is really like owning the wall, and because this wall was so empty before, so we have to put something that's pretty big. And if you notice, in a lot of these hotels and high-end restaurants, they do not have any blank walls. That's like a no-no in the design world. You should never leave a wall blank. So not only this art, you know, like this is just like one example of it, and also this could have been like a much smaller art piece and it would just kind of look also lame. That's why I say the scale really matters in these kind of things. And even here, like if we look at the second picture, this art, the frames are huge, but then the pictures themselves are kind of small. So you get this contrast of like big frames versus small art inside it, and it just gives it like a super high-end look, and it's just not like something that you just, you know, like you grabbed from Amazon, or even Amazon, they actually have some pretty good ones, but you know, there's just like a little bit of design thought that went behind it. So here's another one. Again, this is like the art is owning the wall and not the wall owning the art in a sense. Another example here, and also you can see how this wall here kind of has like these wood panels, and this wall right here kind of has like a little texture to it. So never leave a wall blank, never, unless if it's very intentional and you really know what you're doing, kind of like you use it as a negative space. But not a lot of people know how to use negative space, so just put some art there. Here's another one, kind of like pretty cool. They have like a 4-picture layout. Again, this could have been like one big piece of art that could have also looked good, but I think having it 4, it kind of adds a little bit of you know, thought process behind it. This one is because the scale is a little bit smaller here, then they just did 2 arts, and that was like their thing here. I mean, if you can just do one here, it might be too small for the wall, so having 2 pieces of art just like really elevate the space. And here's another one that I just love. This one is like almost floor to ceiling, and it just like drapes over the walls. It's just stunning. I love this. So now that I mentioned art, I'm gonna build on top of it, as I mentioned earlier. So to take your art to another level, and I mean another level, is to use this image display lights. This is just giving it so like Four Season-esque. That's what I like to call these kind of designs, like Four Season-esque, because it's like a Four Season hotel, they would use these kind of things, and it just like, it adds an ambient light. It's like a little bit of an accessory on top of the art, and it's just like, it makes this space just extremely high-end. This is like the top of the top when it comes to high-end design, and it just looks beautiful, especially if you're like using brass or using gold. The material is already kind of like rich, plus the ambient light. Ooh, so pretty. Here's another one. I think this is RH. I've seen this in their showrooms, and they do like all these arts on the wall, and then again tying back to the art that I was talking about earlier with the light on top, and it just looks so beautiful. This one is a little bit excessive, but that gives you an idea. This could have been like, again, one big piece of art, but now we're using like multiple frames, and of course doing that display. And you know, the good thing about these displays, you can find some on Amazon, and they're actually battery operated, so you don't have to like get an electrician, or like you have to drill the wall or anything like that. They just have a little like tape in the back, and then you can just like put it in the wall, and then they have like a remote, and you can just turn it on and off, and it's just so low maintenance, and you don't have to like do anything to it. Here's another one that's a little bit more classical, and it just like really elevate the art. Okay, so that was the second tip. Now I'm gonna go to the next tip, which is also kind of like similar in the the light realm. So light is very, very important to be used as a focal point, especially for these big chandeliers. So if you have like a dining room or if you have a living room, it's really nice to go with a light that's kind of really tying everything together, and when you walk in, that's like the first thing that you look up. So everything else kind of fades and it's kind of the start of the show. And you can do like something that's more elegant like this. You can do something that's a little bit more sculptural. You can do something that's more like crystal based. I love these crystals, especially when they're lit up and they're like all sparkly and everything. Ooh, so high end, so like sophisticated and elevated. Here's another one that's a little bit more playful and it has like the balloons. And here's another one that's a little bit more kind of sculptural, but it's not like too much in your face. So if you want something a little bit more shy and timid but still like has a little bit of a presence, I think this is a great one. Again, I'm gonna try to leave some links down below. I'm gonna also leave a link to a masterclass that I did for something similar, where I helped a client just take her dining room from like 0 to 100 using these tips. So if you're interested, you can grab the link below, and I kind of show you step by step on how to do it. Like I use Canva and I use AI. So it's very basic technology. Now you don't need to be like a software guru to know how to use this. So I walk you step by step on how to like come up with a mood board, put everything together, and then give it to AI and kind of like it generates a room for you. Okay, so I'm gonna move to the next design tip. Next design tip, again, very basic. These things, you know what, like when you really look at what looks good in design and what doesn't, it's not like rocket science. Like you don't have to like reinvent the wheel. All these things we know, like we know a lot of these things, but it's just like a matter of putting it all together and packaging it into one space. I'm not like gonna give you anything new because everything is already done. Like, you know, like people, they're like, oh, in fashion, people are not being innovative. You can't be innovative in fashion. Like, you need a sleeve. You need something to cover your torso. It's like, you need pants. You're not going to try to be creative. And people who try to, like, think outside the box, it's just like, it might look nice for a magazine or for, like, a runway, but is it really, like, practical? Maybe not. So these things that I'm giving you are super practical. Things that, again, like I said, you can literally, after this video, make a purchase or like order something and it will come tomorrow and you will get the result instantly. So that's what I like to do in this channel. Analyze design, know what works, implement it, boom, enjoy the design. Okay, very simple. Again, so next tip is curtains. A lot of people forget these things, and I feel like here in the US people are like used to like the shades, and it looks so, you know, like I just moved in and I didn't have time to like make my space a little bit more lived in. And curtains is just, it takes your space to another level, and it softens the look. It makes it look a little bit more, you know, romantic, a little bit more just, you know, cozy and warm, and it's not like too cold. Like, again, I said, you just moved in. Oh, just like some linen curtains will just really elevate your space. This one, I love the detailing in black. It just like shows that you're like have a little bit of, you know, design eye. This one, yeah, again, if this didn't have any curtains and it was just like the mullions and the glass, it would look so cold. Trust me, use the curtains, don't be scared. And I think one tip that I can give you about the curtains is don't have them a little bit short. Even if you have like high ceilings, just cover up the whole wall. Don't worry. You can see how here, like they're covering all of this space, so it doesn't really need to be covered, but it's just gonna make your space look a little bit more elongated and more bigger, and just like cover up the whole wall. Stunning. Stunning. No more comments needed. This one here, they're just sheer, but still, you know, it kind of filters the light, and also the light that's coming in, it becomes kind of unified and not as harsh and not much glare. Yeah, beautiful. Don't forget your curtains. This is the curtains kind of like with the black detailing. Yeah, so pretty. And you can also, if you're still kind of doing like a renovation or you're just building from the ground up, you can have them kind of recessed. You can see here how they don't have the rod, so they're like from underneath. That's also a nice detail that you can do, but if not, you can just go like to this one and just cover up the whole wall. That will kind of do the trick. Okay, so next step would be to kind of embrace a little bit of curves. And when you think of like an IKEA living room, you can think of like everything is so angular and everything is so like boxy, which is, you know, the safest way to, this is the safest route. You know, everybody knows how to use a super boxy or a super rectangular sofa because, you know, your space is rectangular. But a lot of times, if you can just pick something that's a little bit more curvy or a little bit more, you know, softer, it's gonna just make the space a little bit look high-end, because very few people can work with curves, but designers are very well trained to use curves. So when you introduce the curve, people are just gonna think that your space was designed by a professional. But you don't have to be scared of curves. I mean, you do need a little bit of space, that's granted, but if your home is like a little bit more than 2,500 square foot, you can definitely afford a curved sofa. Here are just like some examples and how they really make the look of these living rooms a little bit elevated. This one is also just in a bedroom, and this space could be okay without this chair, but this chair just kind of takes it to another level and it becomes like the accent of the space. Here's another one. This is even, they took it like a notch up and they have this thing right here. I'm not sure how I feel about it, but it's definitely a designer touch. Let's go to this one here. These are just like some more chairs, and even the table, it has a little bit of the curved wood, and the marble on top, it's a little bit chamfered. The sides are again curved, and it just gives like, again, that high-end touch instead of just like a typical table with like the four legs, just to show that a little bit of thought went into these rooms. Next one would be mirrors. Mirrors are also something that gets overlooked all the time, and it's such a simple way to elevate the space for a fraction of the price, and it doesn't need a lot of installation or anything like that. But when it comes to mirrors, I would suggest something that has a little bit more of an interesting shape. It could be even just an arched one. It doesn't have to be anything like these ones that I'm showing here, but at least just like an arched one. It looks like it has a little bit of geometry, it has a little bit of softness to it. And you can have it just floor mounted, you can have it wall mounted. Even this one, I love this example. This mirror right here, I think the glass itself, it has kind of like a pattern to it, like you know, one of those old glasses, the mirrors kind of turn a little bit brownish, but it's a style here. Frame of the mirror is very, very beautiful, and I think they have these sconces that are like built into the mirror, or like just like another level type of customization, and I am here for it. This is such a pretty entrance to this space. It's just stunning. Here's another one here where the mirror is kind of like has a funky shape, but I think it works with the overall space. Here's another one that it has kind of like a shape, but it's not too much, you know, it's not very risque. So that's kind of a nice one. Here's another one here, kind of like it wants to be an arch, but like someone like bit a piece of it or something. I don't know, but it's pretty cool. I like it. All right, so we're gonna go to the next one. Next one is needs a little bit of work, but not so much. I have a client who's doing this like just by himself. He has no background in design or like painting, but he's able to do it because the next tip is actually textured paint. And the good thing about the textured paint that I'm showing here is the beauty of it, it's in the imperfection. So if you don't know how to do it, it's gonna be imperfect, but that's the purpose. So that's why it's very easy to do. And you can see some pictures here where it just like it adds a little bit of texture. And remember my point earlier when I said don't leave any walls flat. This one is, even though the wall is flat and you don't have any art or you don't have anything, the wall itself kind of becomes the canvas. Even this one, you know, like the wall, it could use a little bit of art, but even just like this, it looks really nice. I like the texture. It gives it a little bit of warmth, a little bit of organic look, a little bit of like a human touch that, you know, like somebody did it and it's imperfect, a little bit of rawness. Very pretty, especially if you can do like something a little bit moody with colors. Even if you don't, like this one is pretty simple in terms of the color, but the texture is what's really selling it. Here's another one, I think in a powder room, that's really nice with this marble. Okay, so next step, I'm gonna go to plants. Okay, so again, plants is like arts. A lot of people have them, but it's just about the scale of it. It's just not, you can just like have a little plant. Like even my plant right here, it's pretty small, and I live in an apartment, so of course I cannot like have a full-on plant, and also I kill all my plants. I do. Like I kill the cactus. Guys, I don't know who kills a cactus. I kill the cactus. So if you can have a big tree that you can take care of it, please do so. If you have a green thumb, please have a real one. But I am like a huge advocate of fake plants because, again, I kill the cactus. I can kill anything on this planet. So I think you should go for like really big tall trees, and you can have like a little olive tree. You can have things like this, and it's just, it really brings the space like to life basically, and it brings a little bit of greenness. It kind of adds a little bit to the color palette, but not too much. Like, so if you have like a very beigey color palette, and then people are gonna be like, well, you need to introduce some colors, you can't just go and like splash some green on a wall. But if you just bring in a plant, it's gonna introduce that green to the space, but without being too much. So it's like it's kind of like an inherited color that comes with the plant, and it just brings the place to life. So I think that's a very easy, quick tip that you can do. And I'm saying, when I say fake plants, these are not cheap, okay? I think this one is like $500 or $700. These are really expensive fake plants, but because they look so realistic, that's why they're expensive. So next tip would be rugs. Okay, so rugs, again, it's one of those basics ones, but people don't really understand the sizing of it. They don't understand the point of having a rug. They don't understand like the color palette. So usually rugs need to be wide enough that the two legs in front of your sofa or your chair need to be on the couch, on the rug itself, sorry, and the back of it should not be on the rug. That way, because when you put the whole furniture on the rug, it's just gonna feel like the rug is swallowing all your furniture. But when you are putting the two legs on the rug, the back legs outside of the rug, it's just like the rugs become kind of like the unifying point that's unifying all your furniture together without being the overpowering item. And because rugs tend to be so big and so wide, I don't suggest that you go with the pop of color in the rug. The pop of color should be maybe the small art piece. Again, you're gonna have many scales of art, but maybe like a small art piece, or maybe I don't know, like a little decoration item, but don't try to introduce the pop of color in the rug itself. At least that's not my preference. But I do suggest that you go with a textured rug. For example, the ones that I have here, even though they're not like super in your face type of rugs, but they do have a lot of texture, you know, like I'm not trying too hard, but I'm trying, you know, kind of like an effortless look. So textured rugs, it's really pretty. It doesn't look as flat, but again, it's very sophisticated and elegant and not so much in your face. Again, don't try to introduce a pop of color in your curtains or in your rug. It's not gonna work, and it's gonna be very overpowering and like in your face type of thing. Okay, next one would be textures. And textures, what I mean by textures is just like in general. It's not like really a specific item, but it's more like how many textures are you introducing in the space? So a lot of times those like IKEA rooms that I mentioned earlier, because they fall flat because they don't have textures, they're not rich. Have you ever touched like a velvet and you're like, oh my god, this is like such a rich texture? You know, that's kind of like the look or the vibe we're going for. Like, we want to feel rich, you know, like you want to touch those things to feel rich and to feel like that hotel lobby, you know, again, the Four Seasons-esque. So here, for example, this could have been anything, but because it's velvet, it just looks expensive. It might not be expensive, but it's because that texture of the fabric, it's making it look expensive. Here's another one. This is texture, but in a furniture or in a chair. And there's like, it has a little bit of like lifeness to it. Lifeness? I don't even know if that's a word. It has a little bit of life to it. You know, it's not just like blah. It's not just smooth. And I'm not against smooth, but as long as you're introducing some contrast, then that's what I want you to do. Again, I think this is like, it has a rug. That's kind of what I was mentioning earlier. So you can see it has the art, it has the sconces, it has the plant. I actually didn't even notice this thing until now. And I'm sure it has like a chandelier that I was talking about. This is a perfect picture of like everything coming together. Here's another one. This one is like, I think it's a boucle fabric. This fabric, again, it's very trendy right now. It might go out of trend, but if you use it, it's just gonna be like, it's gonna bring that richness to your space, and it's very cozy. I really like it. Even if it goes out of style, I still like it and I still enjoy it, and I would still have it in my space no matter what kind of trend it is. Okay, so I think the last one right here is wallpaper. Wallpaper is, I feel like it got a reputation of being like an old person or like old people houses. They used to have wallpaper, but it's something that I love so much. I love wallpapers because they're fun, because they can be changed, because you can experiment with them without having like a high risk. And I love wallpaper, even if it's not like anything crazy. Like, even if you don't want to do like anything like this that can be a little bit, you know, over time you might get tired of it. But just like this is like a really nice wallpaper. It just gives a little bit of texture. And again, it goes back to my point at the beginning, like the walls should not be flat. The walls should have a little bit of three-dimension to them, and wallpaper can achieve that. Here's another one that's kind of a little bit more like the natural leaves. It's not my favorite, but it gives you kind of that liveness to the wall. Here's another one. This one I like. I think it goes well with the scones. Here's another one that's could be a little bit too much. It's kind of like a mural, but I think it goes very well with the overall space. Here's another one that I mentioned. It's nothing crazy, but it adds a little bit of something. And then another one here. Again, it has like that natural look to it. So yeah, pretty much that's all I wanted to cover. I have 11 tips here, and they are so low maintenance that you can do like literally tomorrow, and you don't have to like think twice about it. So yeah, I'm trying to like keep my videos a little bit short, because when I start rambling I go on for like hours. So I don't know how long this video is gonna be, but at least I just wanted to kind of like be boom 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 and be as informative as possible. Again, if you're interested in applying this in your own space, and if you want to see how everything looks, please check out my masterclass. I will show you how to do all of this step by step, and I will show you how to first, you know, doodle over your current space, and then you'll come up with a list of things that you want to buy. Then we will go shop for it using Google, and then we will come and we'll put everything into Canva, and then after that we will take it to AI, and then it will generate a room for you, and then you will see if you like it or not. And then you can always ask it to change, like, I don't like this wallpaper, I like this wallpaper, add this chandelier, remove this chandelier, and it's very interactive. So if you're interested, check the link below, and I will see you there.